everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be doing the commentary / analysis for the Miraculous movie. As you all know, I got to go to the premiere and I've been really excited for the rest of you to see it because I absolutely loved it and I've been wanting to know what you all thought, so I've since rewatched it now in a language I understand completely. I did see it in French at the premiere, and whilst, you know, I got the general gist of it, because I can speak some French and it is only a kids film, it's pretty self-explanatory, it's very visual. I didn't understand it word for word, so now I have watched it twice, all the way through, taken notes. I have a lot of notes. This is going to be a longer video, but I'm going to kind of do like a little mini section where I'm going to briefly talk about everything and then go really in depth. So if you don't want to stay for the full thing, I mean, I haven't finished filming yet, but I've got a lot of pages here. I know this is going to be a longer video, so I know it's not going to be for everyone, so maybe just watch the first part. I'll tell you when the first part is over. But yeah, I also want to say before I go ahead, I know a lot of people are waiting before they see the finale for it to air in English, even though the rest of us have seen it, which is totally fine. But I am going to end up briefly talking about the finale of this season, season 5, when I get to the final parts of the movie and comparing it slightly. So a warning to those of you who are waiting to watch the finale of this season in English when the English dub airs. And before anyone says, oh my god, Hayes, you can't compare the show to the movie, or whichever way around. I've seen a lot of people complaining, mainly on Twitter, of course it was on Twitter, about people doing this. And whilst I understand their point that a show is very different to a movie, I know. I know they're very different things. However, I do think it's a bit strange to say you can't compare it at all when they are about the same things. And whilst yes, certain things are done differently, it has like largely the same characters in, the same kind of motivation for Gabriel, the same relationships, and whilst yes, they are done differently, and obviously they had to develop them a lot quicker because they only had an hour and a half, that's how long the film is without the credits. They only had an hour and a half versus however many hours it's been start to finish in the show so far. So, you know, I understand, but that's not to say we can't compare it at all. It certainly can't be a one-for-one comparison. This wasn't a remake of the show told from Jeremy's perspective. It was completely different in that regard. But that's not to say you can't compare it in some ways, because you definitely can compare it in some ways, just not always. But anyway, so I think I made it pretty clear so far that I really loved the movie. I know other people didn't, and that's totally fine, but if you've come for me to bash it or whatever, this isn't going to be the video for you. You're going to have to find someone who hated it, because I loved it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't perfect. I would give it a 9 out of 10. So I'm just going to go in to some like little brief things of what I loved and what I didn't like so much. So I love a lot of it, hence why it's a 9 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed rewatching it twice yesterday. I had a great time. I didn't get bored. It was great getting to see a film I love twice. It was great. I love the structure of the film, how it was like, because I was like wondering like how they're gonna establish the new heroes, get them to a point in Paris where everyone loves them, but then also have them defeat Hawkmoth, stuff like that. I wasn't sure how it was gonna work, but they did it so well. The structure was great. It was really pacey, which kind of means like it had a good forward pace to it without it being too fast. It was great. I loved the story overall, and I loved the character development of mainly Marinette and Adrian. In terms of character development though, I definitely think they could have done a bit more with Gabriel. I felt that he did at some points lack some presence in the film, which I'm going to get into a bit more in the fuller analysis. But there's that bit where he comes down the stairs and he's like, Adrian, you didn't return home last night, and like he's got like the start of a beard, you know, he's got stubble, he hasn't shaved, obviously he's not been taking care of himself, and I feel like there was a lack of a build-up to that, like comparing to the show, particularly in season 5. We've seen more of Gabriel's like descent into madness kind of, and him kind of getting more and more unhinged and slowly losing it, stuff like that. So I felt like it needed even just like literally 2 more small scenes of Gabriel to show his descent into madness a little bit more. The relationship development overall I think was really good. The Lady Noir was pretty much flawless in the movie. However, I do feel the Adrianette, they could have paid a bit more attention to it, since the movie kind of ends, well, I'm about to say it ends with Adrianette, it's not, because there's a reveal, so it's both, you know. So I just feel like there could have been a bit more Adrianette in the movie. Honestly, even though in the show Adrianette is my favourite, in the movie I preferred the Lady Noir personally, just because of the lack of attention Adrianette got. I also think there could have been a couple more songs. Whilst I like the songs in the movie, I feel like it was more of a film with songs rather than a musical, if that makes sense. Like, I love musicals, I've seen a lot of them, and to me there just weren't enough songs for it to be classed as a musical, really. Like, yeah, obviously it is a musical since there are songs in it, but like, I don't know, when someone says a musical to me, like, yeah, they had solos, they had duets, there was a mix of emotional songs and happier songs and romantic songs, but like there wasn't like at any point like a whole group number or anything like that, which is often what you get in a musical. So I kind of feel like maybe like 2 more songs would have been great. Still don't get why they took out The Wall Between Us. I still think it would have fit really well in the movie, particularly in that moment when after Marinette rejects Cat Noir and she goes to ask Adrian to the ball and she's talking to Tiki and she's really indecisive. She's like, Adrian's the one I like, not Cat Noir, because she's being pulled between these 2 boys. So I think it really would have been really good in the movie. I am kind of sad it wasn't in there, but at the same time I do think the movie works without it. So I'm kind of in between it there. Also, I know a lot of people saying they hate the songs in English. I like all the songs in English apart from Stronger Together. I don't think it sounds good in English, but I'm trying not to hold that against the movie too much. When you translate anything, it often loses the meaning, and translating songs are very, very difficult because they've still gotta fit the way the song goes. So I'm not going to hold that too much against them, but if you didn't like any of the songs in English, I would recommend listening to the French version, because I think the French version of all the songs is amazing and I think you'd enjoy them more in French. So that's basically the short version of what I've got to say. I think it was great, solid 9 out of 10. It was wonderful, and maybe you think I named too many negatives for it to be a 9 out of 10. Arguably yes, however, in my opinion, everything else apart from those things I've just named, I think they did pretty flawlessly. Like, apart from those things, I think the film was pretty much perfect in my opinion, apart from those things I've just mentioned, like the Lady Noir, perfection, Marinette's development, amazing, Adrian's development, great, Alia, Chloe, Nino and Sabrina, they were all great, Master Fu was wonderful, everyone's parents, great, amazing. So I don't want to give it any lower than 9 out of 10 because I think everything else was done perfectly. And I also really feel, and obviously this is just a feeling, there's no confirmation of this, is that sometimes when I watch the show, I do feel sometimes, like I said, just a feeling that they lack a bit of passion and it just kind of seems sloppy and lazy sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes. And like I said, just a feeling. I have no confirmation of this. Whereas when I was watching the movie, I felt I could just like feel all like the passion and enthusiasm that went into it. So to me this was just like a quality piece of artwork, to be honest, and I don't want to give it any lower than a 9 out of 10 because the things they got wrong they didn't even do them that badly. They should have just done a bit more of it and it would have been perfect, and everything else was done so flawlessly that I don't want to give it any lower than a 9 out of 10. So that was like the little quick section. So now I'm gonna go ahead into the longer analysis, and yes, we are gonna go in chronological order because I'm crazy. So the opening, I really liked it. I mean, like, there are a lot of things in the movie that they had to repeat. For example, the basic lore of the Miraculouses and the Wish, introducing Marinette, introducing Adrian, how they meet for the first time, introducing Ladybug, Cat Noir, then how they meet for the first time, how they fall in love with each other, Gabriel's introduction. They had to redo several things again that we've already seen in the show, so I think the differences they did pick up on, they did their differences really well while still communicating the same message, and I think the opening was a really good visual way to talk about the Miraculouses, and also, you know, just in general, getting to rewatch the film was really nice without having people screaming around me. When I saw it at the premiere, yeah, it was like a really cool atmosphere, but like there was a lot of screaming. Like the screaming started, you know, in the opening when he's talking about the 2 rival heroes and Ladybug and Cat Noir, like the little red and green lights come together and hug. Screams immediately. Anytime a new character comes on screen who they all really like, or there's like any Love Square moments, it was just screaming. So yeah, it was nice to see it without being screamed at. It was great. So I did also really like the difference about how it does seem that the Butterfly Miraculous is kind of evil. I kind of liked that as well, and I also really liked about the rival heroes, and obviously you see it more when Ladybug and Cat Noir arrive in the film, how they do kind of, I don't want to say hate each other, but yeah, rival heroes basically, and it was like the whole movie was like enemies to friends to lovers. I love that kind of trope. So I thought it was great, and the intro was really short and succinct, and it was obviously needed for the movie. Obviously going into the movie I understood all of the lore already and how Miraculous works, but I went to the premiere with my mum. She has never seen Miraculous, and the only thing I told her before we went in was about the love square, about how Marinette likes Adrien, but Adrien's Cat Noir, he sees her as a friend, and he's in love with Ladybug, stuff like that. That's the only thing I told her. I didn't tell her about the Wish or the Miraculouses, and she still understood. Bearing in mind, my mum speaks no French, and she still got it. So I think it was really short and succinct, and she understood from just the visuals of the opening, so the visual storytelling was on point, according to my mum. So, Marinette, I love how much more different she was in the movie. I really like that she was super shy, and actually I liked the fact that she had no friends at the start of the movie. I think it makes her character arc a lot better and much more satisfying, because you see her confidence grow and knowing that in the end she doesn't need the mask to be brave. Like her opening number really solidifies where she starts, like dreaming of like actually saying how she feels and not being afraid to hold back. We see it in the film as she gradually gets braver to confront Chloe, and then at the end she obviously confesses to Adrien that she's Ladybug, and it's kind of like how she feels about him. So I feel like Marinette's arc starts solidly, progresses solidly, and then also ends solidly. I thought she was great. I also really enjoyed actually getting to see Gabriel at work. Like, I know in the show he does do work, but he just stands in front of his tablet and draws. Apart from a few episodes here and there, like Mr. Pigeon and Style Queen and probably a few others, we don't actually get to see like the fashion world very often. So I'm glad we actually got to see a bit more of the designing side. I thought it was really believable. Then the school opening, when Marinette arrives at school, I thought it was really well done. Pretty much everyone else who were characters in the film, apart from Adrien and a few others, were all introduced here. It established all the character archetypes really, really quickly. So we had Chloe, kind of the mean popular girl, Sabrina, her questionable friend, Alia, the reporter who's going to stand up for anyone, Nino, the kind of goofy but kind one, and even though the rest of the class don't actually say anything in the movie, which, don't get me wrong, I actually was kind of disappointed about when I first saw the film, but because it is a movie and they've got less time to play with than the show, looking back on it now, I don't mind it so much because I don't actually think they'd have time to be able to establish anyone else. So whilst I do kind of miss that the rest of the class don't say anything and are just there as background characters, I do think it was the right decision to make not to have them, because there just wouldn't be any time. Like, I don't even think, like, for example, my mum, she learned everyone else's names by the end of the film. Had they introduced the rest of the class, she would have no idea, and I think it would lead to a lot of confusion. So whilst I am a little sad they didn't say anything, I also don't mind that much now, because I do think it works well. I think it would have been too much having the rest of the class be named characters, basically. Like, obviously we all know their names, but to other people coming to the show, they won't know if they've never seen the show, and the movie is their first watch of anything Miraculous. But like I said, it really quickly establishes the archetypes of the characters who are in the film, so Alia, Nino, Chloe and Sabrina, as well as Marinette. It also starts to establish the kind of relationships and hierarchy between them, particularly between Chloe and Marinette, and it also introduces Alia as the best friend, like almost immediately. Alia was awesome. I think this whole like opening sequence was awesome, especially the montage with Marinette showing how basically terrible she is at everything. Establishes her so well. This opening established everything so well. And also, I need to know everyone's thoughts on Miss Bustier when she came on screen, because like, prior to seeing the movie, I don't think we ever got any spoiler images of her, so I wasn't even sure she was going to be in the movie. Oh my god, when she came on screen the first time, I gasped. She was beautiful in the movie. I hoped you all liked how she looked. Oh my god. Like, I love Miss Bustier in the show. Pretty. Miss Bustier in the movie is gorgeous. I love her. Love her so much. Then I also really love the scene with Emily back at the fashion atelier, and the butterfly Miraculous also hints at and foreshadows the danger that's going to come later on. I think it was really structured well, at the same time of introducing Marinette, like, because the movie does this quite a lot, is that whilst we're introducing Adrian and Marinette, and then later Ladybug and Cat Noir, starts with another scene that seems unrelated to them, but then you come back to it. They kind of do it with all the Akuma attacks. It's really well structured, and it's what makes the film really pacey with the forward pace. That I just said pace too many times. It makes the film move forward. It doesn't slow it down. If they waited to establish this with the Butterfly Miraculous, it would really slow it down, and it would also really lower the stakes of the film. The fact that we see Gabriel with the butterfly thing beforehand and see like the flashes of danger with like the river of lava and stuff starts to up the stakes. Otherwise, if that wasn't there, if these Gabriel scenes weren't there in the opening, it'd just be this girl's first day at school. Why is she so special? Why does this matter? It would seem really inconsequential. So the fact that the Butterfly Miraculous stuff is there, it adds to the intrigue, keeps people watching. I think it was really well done. So then Marinette, she starts getting bullied by Chloe. She runs into the library and she meets Adrian. Again, this scene was lovely to watch without everyone screaming for the entirety of it. It was great. Please don't scream in the cinema, it's not nice. So I personally really loved their meeting scene. Honestly, this scene, in my opinion, was the creepiest Marinette got in the movie, and it wasn't even that creepy. It was just like normal teenager behaviour. Like, when I was in high school, did I probably stare a bit too long at the guy I had a crush on? Yeah, but I think that's pretty normal in my opinion. I don't think it's that creepy. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's that creepy really. I was kind of sad at first that the moment she fell for him wasn't going to be the umbrella scene, because the umbrella scene in the show, iconic, one of my favourite moments from the entire show. So I was a bit sad. However, at the same time, I understand Jeremy wanted to do something different, and I really liked the way she felt for him in this scene. I think it was really, really sweet. But like I said, I just feel like overall there needed to be some more Adrianette. So they meet in this scene, then there's kind of the stuff at the fair, there's a bit of the montage where they talk with each other, then she asks him out, and then they don't talk again until the very end of the film. So I just felt like it needed a bit more. The Adrianette just needed a bit more establishing. I think the Lady Noir was done perfectly in terms of their development and the feelings developing. But I feel like the Adrianette just needed a little bit more. But what we got, I did like. Just more of that, please. Thank you. I think it would have been great. So maybe as well, I really liked the scene in the montage where Adrian's showing Marinette the picture of him and Emily, presumably talking to her about his mum. I would have liked that to have been a spoken scene that we actually would have got to have seen. I think that would have been great. Like, I still see people leaving the common criticism that Marinette's only in love with the idea of Adrian. I'm like, no, she's absolutely not. We are not watching the same show. The entire film shows she is not in love with the idea of Adrian. She has no idea who he is when she walks into the library. No idea at all. I don't think she knows his name. She's like, this boy, this one. She has no idea who he is. And the same again in the show. She doesn't care that he's the son of a fashion designer. Like, if anything, she shouts at him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't like him at first in the show, and like in Jubilation when she's talking to Soculine about Adrian, that, like, what she says in that little speech just shows how much she truly cares for him and doesn't care about like his dad or his money or his fame or anything like that. I really dislike it when people say that. But anyway, so yeah, I thought this Adrianette meeting scene was really, really good. And I also like the way the movie at certain points really organically shifts the focus. So we kind of follow Adrian leaving the library. So the scene starts with Marinette going into the library after being chased by Chloe. We kind of stick with Marinette's perspective throughout the scene, but then it kind of changes naturally to Adrian leaving and we switch to his perspective. So I really like how the movie organically switches instead of it being like a hard shift. Sometimes it is a hard shift when it goes to Gabriel, but he is the antagonist there. It doesn't really seem like there could have been a natural way to do it. But with Adrian and Marinette, there is often a really organic and natural shift of perspective between them. So I really liked that, and I said this in my spoiler-free review and I haven't changed my mind. If anything, my spoiler-free review, from what I remember, was saying, I make a lot of videos, I don't remember what I say anymore. I know I really liked it then, so I pretty much agree with what I said, but I know I did remember talking about grief in the movie, and I really like how it was being shown. In the show, I know both Adrian and Gabriel are grieving, Gabriel obviously more so than Adrian, but like, I always feel like in the show it's never really shown to us. We're just told all the time when, you know, when Gabriel goes downstairs to have a a chat with his wife in his fridge. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're showing it then, but like it's really told to the audience, where with the way like the atmosphere of the aggressed house is, their like body language, both of them, the tension between them, it's really showing that grief to the audience. I think if you took out all the scenes of Emily and you didn't even see the pictures yet showing that someone was missing, I think it would be really obvious to an audience that something had happened in this household without having to tell them that someone has died, someone really important and well loved. So like I think the movie shows the grief to the audience really, really well, and because it is for children, like it's not that grief can't be a topic handled for children, because obviously children's parents die, their siblings die, grandparents die, whoever's die. They obviously experience grief too, but it often can be a really difficult emotion, well, for anyone to go through really, but it can be a really difficult emotion to go through, but also to show that to children in their media, because a lot of people are really unsure how to handle it, or even just in general how to talk to children about grief, and I think the movie handled it really well for the target audience in mind. So the next bit was about Gabriel, how his reasoning for the chaos came about. I also kind of like, just in general, kind of a Gabriel note, even though I feel like we could have gotten a bit more of him, how it does kind of paint him more as a sympathetic villain. Like up until probably, I don't know, maybe the end of season 3, I did kind of sympathise with Gabriel. Season 4, I was like, you're getting a bit crazy. Season 5, I was like, you're really crazy now. And after all the abuse of Adrian, I did kind of disagree with the redemption of him that they were going for after the wish happened. Don't like that. Hope that changes next season. That's what I'm holding out for. I like that he was redeemed at the end of this movie, because he was a more sympathetic villain, and he definitely wasn't as abusive in the movie. He was definitely still neglectful of his son, which does count as abuse, but comparing the show to the movie, Gabriel in the show is disgusting towards Adrian, particularly in the last season, in season 5. So in the movie he's more of a sympathetic villain, which I really liked. I like a good sympathetic villain, to be honest. It's my favourite kind of villain. So I actually really like as well, so when the butterfly is used and Master Fu's like, okay, it's time to go. I really liked how the Miraculouses got to choose their holders themselves. I think it was a really cool idea, especially because in the show, yes, I know I'm comparing it a lot, but like I can't really help it. All Adrian and Marinette do is just, yeah, they both arguably save Master Fu, but neither situation is very high stakes. So I really liked how it was done, although I'm a bit unsure about Adrian. Was it just like to see like if he was going to be mean to that cat in his room? That was a little bit odd, but I loved Marinette's, the whole chase sequence with Chloe. Chloe was great in the movie. After the way she was done dirty in the show, Chloe was absolutely amazing in the movie. The whole dialogue from Chloe in that chase sequence was wonderful. I loved it, and Sabrina was great. I know she doesn't do much in the movie, but what she did do I thought was wonderful. In this scene where Marinette's like, please don't say anything, and Sabrina's like, okay, and then at the end at the prom she's just like, what can you do? Not much apparently. Maybe report her bullying to the teachers. But with Marinette getting the Miraculous, she does a lot more for Master Fu and shows her bravery. And then, oh my god, Master Fu, he was great in this movie, just going absolutely crazy. And he's like, the world's going to end, and she's like, the city has gone absolutely crazy. Go away, leave me alone. So she arrives at what I think is Master Fu's house. I don't actually know what location it is, but again this is interspersed with that man getting akumatized at Notre Dame, which is something that keeps it pacey. If we just stuck with Marinette getting the Miraculous, we'd be like, what even is the point of her getting the Miraculous? Like, what's she gonna do with it? And this man's getting akumatized as she's doing that. So it was great. The back and forth structure of it worked really well in the film's favour. So the whole scene with Marinette with the ladybug flying on her nose and then off to where the earrings were, the way it leads her. Tiki's intro was amazing. That's one of my favourite songs in English, actually. Love that song. Been singing it for ages now. I also really liked about Marinette's reluctance, the way it was shown. Again, like the things that were repeated in the movie, because this sort of thing happens in Origins in the show. It was familiar enough that I knew it was going to happen, but also different enough that it wasn't, you know, boring and super duper repetitive, you know. So I really liked that. The song was really good, again showing the hesitation, and then the end's like, Tiki's like, I'm not giving you a choice, we're doing this. So the whole sequence was really, really, really good, and again that was interspersed with the security guard at Notre Dame. Also, Notre Dame looked absolutely amazing on the inside with all the stained glass. I've never actually been in Notre Dame, apart from on Assassin's Creed, obviously. But my mum has been in Notre Dame. She's been to Paris quite a few more times than I have. She went there on her honeymoon, and she like thought like all of Paris looked amazing there. It looked spectacular, especially the inside of Notre Dame. So the like design of the buildings got a mark from my mum. She loved the way this movie looked because she loves Paris. And also I really liked, maybe it was because of all the screaming at all points in the cinema, when I was watching the movie for the first time, I didn't even register that the yo-yo was making noises. I really like that, and it kind of makes it, this wasn't confirmed, but to me it's kind of like, because Marinette's so hesitant as Ladybug, but Tiki's like, no, come on, you can do this. I really liked how the yo-yo kind of picked up and took charge, as if the yo-yo was kind of like Tiki, and I loved all the noises it made. Like I said, the cinema just got so loud at some point she couldn't even hear what was happening. So I didn't hear those noises the first time I saw it, so I really, really liked that. So then we get to Notre Dame. Cat Noir was amazing, like I said. It's like rivals slash enemies at first with like the watermelon stuff and the sidekick stuff, but he's also at the same time a complete idiot, and like he's running around doing stuff and she's just stood there like So it's reminiscent of Origins, but again it's also different enough that it doesn't feel repetitive. It's like a different spin on it, because like I just realised Stoneheart, monster made out of stone, Gargoyle also made out of stone, so they're obviously reminiscent of each other, they're calling back to each other, but it's different enough that it doesn't feel repetitive. And honestly the whole fight sequence was amazing. Like it had some humour in it with the organs and the bell, and the stuff in the metro was funny as well. It was just amazing. The stuff in the water, yeah, amazing. And it also really firms up Alia's ambition in the movie. I know it's not really discussed that much since it's not as much of a like talking point as it is in the show, but it also just gives extra colour to her character. I also liked the way like the Ladybug vision was shown, the dots and stuff. I never know what to call it when it's used in the show. I think you all know what I mean though, right? So I liked how it showed to the audience how reluctant Marinette was, but like the yo-yo was helping her out, which is kind of like why I view like Tiki was like trying to help her from within basically. So much is packed into this sequence. It's really quick and cool and pacey, but doesn't feel too fast-paced. I thought the whole thing was great, and I also really liked the fact that the police arrived right after it ended, because obviously they did cause quite a lot of destruction and disruption. So I'm like, I'm glad you arrived. I kind of wish it was a bit more like that in the show. Like when they first show up, they're just like, yeah, cool, whatever, you do our jobs for us. So I like the fact that the police, at first anyway, were a bit against them because they didn't know what was going on. So now let's talk about Cat Noir falling for Ladybug. I knew it had to happen. However, I really hate that, I think it's called Careless Whisper, whatever the piece of music was playing. Don't like it. I feel like it really cheapened the moment, and if you take out the music, I think it's pretty obvious what's going on. Like it's a direct parallel to the library scene, except this time she's helping him up. The way he's looking at her, stuff like that, the body language communicates how he feels without the need for the music. So to me, I feel like it really cheapened it, particularly since Cat Noir's feelings for her, as shown by Stronger Together, are extremely sincere, you know? So I feel like without the music, it already communicates exactly how he feels. They didn't need it, you know? Like, so yeah, no. So I liked how he fell for her, but like, why did you didn't need the music. I didn't like that part at all. But in general, I really like how much more alive Paris feels in the movie. Like when you watch the show and I'm like, Paris is deserted. Paris is jam-packed all year round. And when I went for the movie, when I was just wandering around, we were at the Trocadero, oh my god. The place was so packed you could barely see the ground. I think it would be almost impossible to replicate just how busy Paris can get, but at least the movie gave me a bit more feel about the atmosphere of Paris. I understand this is in the show, it's probably more to do with budget rather than them just not wanting to, but I really liked how more alive the city felt. It was great. I also liked the scene with Ladybug and Cat Noir talking to Master Fu and their rivalry again. They were hilarious. Also reminds the audience that they are in fact just children, and this is what teenagers act like with each other. Like, a lot of people do forget sometimes that they're just kids. Like, a lot of people criticize them for stuff when they watch the show, and I'm like, they are children. You wouldn't have done anything better at their age. I definitely wouldn't have, so shush. And the stronger together message starts as well, and it's also where the Lady Noir development starts, both as just like as a team and then as a romantic relationship, because he starts to tease her. So then it's the Cat Noir solo. And this isn't my favourite song, but I definitely do think it's needed to show he's starting to move on from what's happened, and whereas his dad is not. So the Marinette is going home, that was hilarious as well. And also pretty much all of Tom's scenes in this movie, Marinette's dad Tom, he was awesome in the movie. It really solidified him as a really overprotective dad. He was great in the movie. I loved him so much, established his character so well. And oh my god, Plag. I love Plag in the movie. He was gross, but he was great. Part of me does kind of wish that we got some more Plag scenes in the movie. However, because Adrian's dad is a lot less strict, you know, Gabriel Babers lets him go out, like he goes to the fair, he goes on picnics and whatever, into the cinema. It doesn't seem like he has to ask permission as much as in the show. Like, Gabriel seems very much a like hands-off dad, which he is in the show as well. But in the show, he's super overprotective at the same time. It's like, I don't want to talk to you or spend time with you, but you have to sit in your room and talk to no one instead. Whereas in the film, Gabriel's like, yeah, I don't want to spend time with you, you can do what you want, I don't care as long as you're safe. You know what I mean? So I do kind of wish there were more scenes between Adrian and Plag, but I'm like, I'm not sure if they would be needed, since Adrian does get to interact with loads of other people and go outside more, basically. So I'm not sure they would have been needed. I just wanted it more because I thought Plag was great. And then now Natalie backs away. She's like, Aiden, you okay? And then she's like, I'm sorry. No, goodbye. I also really love the parallel scenes. You have Tiki and Marinette talking, and then Adrian and Plag, and how the dialogue plays off each other, and it seems like they're having a conversation, but at the same time they're not. I thought it was hilarious. It was really, really well structured and really well written. I also like that Marinette does reject the earrings. Again, it's similar to in the show, but I also kind of like how it's the chosen one aspect. Obviously in the show she tries to give them to Alia, but in this she's like, she can't even give them to someone else for them to have a go at being Ladybug, because the earrings won't let her. So I kind of really like that. So then Gabriel Babes does his song. No, I didn't cry at this song. It was a musical. I was expecting a song from him at some point. I wasn't expecting him to burst out to a song and dance like in Deflagration. That was completely out of nowhere. I did really like the song. It was clear it was the start of his descent into madness, but also established well that he was doing this for love, even if his actions were misguided. Like I said, like, he is like a sympathetic villain. Plus as well, this song also reveals more about the lore of the Miraculous and why he's so desperate to get Ladybug and Cat Noir's about the wish and bringing Emily back to life. And then the next set of scenes are also parallel scenes, which obviously mirror the ones with Tiki and Plag, but this time between Marinette and Alia, and then Nino and Adrian, and again it's about the same sort of topic, about Ladybug and Cat Noir, and also about falling and love. It was great dialogue with them misleading each other and seeming like they're leading into each other, but they're not, they're talking about something else. It was great, and it was also a really interesting way to start the Akuma attack, because that was also happening at the same time, I think at the bank. Is it a bank? I'm not actually sure where the magician and the mime were. I think it's a bank. I don't know though. And then Tom, like I said, so he's like, when he finds out like there's something going on, it's near where Marinette is, he's like, gotta go, goodbye, and just like, don't tell your mum. Tom's motivation, his character in this movie, he didn't do loads, but what he did was awesome. He was great. The DJ Wi-Fi, the Alia and Nino. Amazing, because Nino's like, yeah, I'm Dr. Love, we got this. And then he's so nervous around Alia. It was really, really sweet. I love the Alia and Nino pairing. It was great. And I like how the Adrianette, they start to slowly bond, but then Tom interrupts, which is kind of why I feel like they needed a bit more Adrianette between this point and when she asks him to the ball, and then the ending of the movie. There just wasn't enough for me personally, but I did like what we got. So the whole sequence at the fair with the fighting was great. I kind of like that they started attacking the civilians, including Marinette, and she realises how dangerous the situation is and that she has to do something even though she's extremely, extremely scared. I love the song, and I love them working well together with Cat Noir when they toss each other up in the air like pizzas of pizza dough. fabulous. Also interspersed with Alia and Nino on the roller coaster and Chloe and Sabrina on the Ferris wheel. It's not Ferris, London Eye sort of thing. I don't know what it was. You know what I mean? The wheel. Whatever. I don't know. To give it some humour, also doing some quite serious fighting. They look like they get quite badly injured at some point, especially with Cat Noir, and the mime had a really good balance. You can tell that Ladybug is the one in charge, but I really like the fact that when they finish it with a Louvre, she says, actually no, we're partners. I thought it was great, and whilst you can tell in the movie that Marinette is quite clearly the main character, she's the one introduced first, she gets more screen time, she gets more songs and stuff, I did feel like it was more equal storytelling between her and Adrian. Not 50-50 because like I said, she's quite clearly the main, she's quite clearly the lead, but more equal than we oftentimes get in the show. So just overall really liked that about the movie, and how also, whilst yes she is in charge in the movie in their partnership, he does seem to have a more equal stance to her than he often seems to have in the show. And I also really liked during the fight how the different rides were used, especially the horses from the carousel. It's been a while since I've been to a fairground, as you can tell. And I like how they solved it with the Louvre, as well as Ladybug just slowly learning her powers. I've seen on Twitter that a lot of people were annoyed at the fact there was no Lucky Charm during the movie. Quite honestly, I don't care. I hate the Lucky Charm, I hate that bloody thing. So I didn't care. I really liked the fact it wasn't even in there, and that her main power was actually what she learns at the end of the film, is basically fixing all of the damage caused, because like sometimes I feel like Cat Noir and everyone else only has one power, whereas she technically has like 2 or 3, the Lucky Charm, purifying Akumas, and fixing everything, you know what I mean? So like I kind of liked that the only thing she really can do is purify the Akumas, which doesn't seem to be as necessary as it is in the show. We all know she doesn't do it, they multiply like we saw in Origins, and then just fixing. So I kind of like that as being her power, but I also kind of like that she doesn't really learn it until the end of the movie, because it mirrors like a slow realization of that she can do this even if she's not Ladybug, and that she's wonderful as she is already, but being Ladybug has helped her to learn the courage in herself, as the song suggests, you know what I mean? I really like that thing about it. So then we have the montage. The music for this montage, oh my god, I love it, it's great. And then the Croissant Man, my husband, the other enemies as well. Also suggests Nino was akumatized at some point. And also the picture of Jagged Stone looked really cool as well. It was great again seeing Marinette grow in confidence over the course of this. I love the Adrianette we got in the montage, however I definitely think the scene where he's showing Marinette like the picture of him with his mum, I feel like that definitely could have been a spoken scene. That would have been really lovely to see, maybe Adrian expressing more so about how he feels about his mum, since his dad just seems to refuse to talk about it. I think that really would have been great to see how he's slowly dealing with it and is able to actually talk to someone about it. I don't know the best ways to deal with grief, but I don't think holding it in is a good way to do it. I think talking about it to someone, even if it's someone who didn't know that person or whatever, I think that can really help. And the montage also showed Cat Noir also falling for Ladybug more, which leads us into the next section, which was a little Lady Noir fight sequence, which is showing them slowly transitioning more from, they're still kind of rivals, they have like a healthy rivalry, but they're also kind of friends who tease each other, and then into that bit where he has her against the wall. It was so subtle and so well done. I love that part, really great. So then the ball announcement, it shows just how much Marinette has grown in confidence, because Chloe's like, oh, like you two should go together, you and Alia, because Adrian's gonna ask me, and Marinette's like, yeah, we'll see about that, the adults are talking, your hair's a mess, go fix it. Yes, Marinette, you did amazing, it was great. I also really loved the bit where she's getting really worried about Cat Noir because she finds his baton, and then the importance of the theatre, it was so touching and lovely. Like, this whole movie had a really good balance of emotions throughout. Stronger Together was absolutely beautiful. I love the movie, as well as Cat Noir's like reasoning for it and his motivation for it because of how much she has helped him. Again, whilst I don't mind the English version, The French one, in my opinion, is better. Every single time I've seen the movie so far in English, I just sit here and belt out the French version. Does it sound good? No, absolutely not. Do I enjoy myself thoroughly every single time I do it? Yes. Yes, I do. So that was great. And I just really related to it because Miraculous just in general has really helped me grow in confidence and just become, I feel like, a better person in general. If you didn't know, I didn't always make Miraculous videos. I just made videos to help me with like my self-esteem and confidence because I used to have none, and now I feel like if you go back and rewatch my first video, which is about PhD stuff, not about Miraculous stuff, you can just see like the difference in me. So I could 100% relate to the scene, and like the ending of the song kills me. Like I listened to the song I think on the plane on the way to Paris for the premiere. Like, so I already knew what was going on. Like, I didn't have the English lyrics, but I understood the last bit where she's like, désolé, mon cœur a déjà pris. And I was like, don't do this to me, girlie, don't do it. So I already knew what was gonna happen. And then they also performed it before the movie started. Lou and Elliot were there to perform it, and it was so sad. And everyone was like, so we all knew it was coming. But the end, it just still gets me. It was so beautifully done because it looks like she's really in turmoil between the two boys. And then the next scene, I loved like the confusion when she's talking to Tiki. She's like, deep breaths. Adrian's the one I like, not Cat Noir. And I'm like, they're the same person! The frustration. But then he rejects her, and then Chloe's like, it's because I'm the other girl. I'm like, Chloe? Shut up before I punch you! Like, Chloe was like peak season 1 Chloe, which is like my favourite kind of Chloe. So I was like, Chloe, you're annoying me so much, but thank you so much, I've missed you so much. So then we have the number Reaching Out. I absolutely loved this song, and the songs just really communicate all the emotions of everyone so well. I think they, like, even like, take her out the lyrics, they just sound like the emotion. For example, Reaching Out just sounds so melancholy. I love it, and I love it as the final like dip before the film's climax, but I do kind of feel like there was a song missing from the end somewhere. Between now and the end, it feels like we go too long without a song. I feel like there maybe should have been another one. I don't know where it would have been or what the song would have been either, but maybe. You know what I mean? Like I said, like I like the songs we got and I love musicals, but to me it's more of a film with songs rather than a musical in my opinion, but you know, I don't know. So then Gabriel akumatizes himself, but I just feel like, I like the idea of it, don't get me wrong, I like the fact he akumatizes himself, plus there's Hawkmoth as well. Like we've never seen Hawkmoth akumatized before. He's akumatized other heroes like in like Chloe for example when she was Queen Bee, but never Hawkmoth being akumatized. He always akumatizes himself as Gabriel Babes rather than as Hawk Daddy. But I was just like, I just feel in order for it to have a bit more payoff and to see his full descent into insanity was to see him a bit more. Like there's a scene I just missed talking about where Adrian comes home after being rejected by Ladybug and stuff, where, you know, he's got some stubble and he doesn't look well at all. He's very tired, very stressed, not dealing with things. But he's like, oh, you didn't come home last night. And I'm like, I think Adrian's still 14 in this movie. If I didn't come home when I was 14, my mum would have called the police, not been like, oh, where were you last night? You know what I mean? I would have been a missing person. And Gabriel's like, yeah, I'm not even going to call the police. So whilst I love that scene and seeing how far Gabriel has come, and I understand why he akumatized himself, I just feel like a couple more, even just short scenes, didn't have to be long, to show more of his descent would have been really good. So then we get to the final battle. I thought it was great with basically like the ultimate chaos. It looked amazing. All the details, especially on the buildings, just looked fabulous. And it also was just kind of, it wasn't mega scary, but you could certainly feel the threat, you know what I mean? There was an obvious threat that was palpable in the film, so I really liked that for it. But there is just one bit I don't get with Adrian. Okay, I kind of get how he's like, he doesn't see what's going on, he's got his headphones in, his curtains drawn, he doesn't know. Okay, fine, fair enough. And then he sees like Ladybug's calling him or whatever. I'm not really sure the reasoning for the flashing exactly, whether it's danger or the other one's calling them. Maybe it's a mix of both, I don't know. You're kind of a bit screwed if either you're in public and they start flashing, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what's, you got a flashing ring, that's cool, flashing earrings. Where can I get that? Sorry, nowhere, unless you steal it from me. what was with the weird, like, again, the careless whisper music and the facial expression? I get what he was saying. He was kind of like, oh, like, girls want you more when you ignore them, whatever. Yeah, okay, fine, he was being jealous or whatever. Okay, I got what he said, but what was he doing? It was just strange. Anyway, I also really liked then when he left. I mean, first of all, it's a good job Marinette learns how to do the Miraculous Ladybug and fix everything, because otherwise then he'd really have to explain to his dad why there was a massive hole in his window. Why didn't you jump out of it instead of going through it? You lunatic! And I also really liked seeing how, like, jealous he was during the final battle. Like, yeah, he saved them and he's like, well, your boyfriend didn't show up or whatever. I really liked that. Obviously, it's definitely not the time and place to be having this conversation, but again, he's just a child, he's just a teenager. Like, it's definitely something he would mention. Like, it's pretty sure this is the first time they've seen each other since the rejection in Stronger Together, so like, it makes complete sense he would be like this, even though it is definitely not the time and place to be having this conversation. I loved the fact that he was. It would kind of seem, just because of the way Cat Noir is, it would just be a little bit weird if he didn't say anything at all. So that was great, and I kind of like the way, like, his ego hurts him, basically. Like, he's like, I don't need you, I can do this together, and she's like, no, wait, it's meant to be stronger together, and he runs up the Eiffel Tower without her. However, since this was the only cataclysm in the movie, I feel like it would have been better if, like, in the show he shouted it and made it more of a thing. He kind of nearly whispers it. I feel like if you're not paying attention, and if you don't even know what one is, if you're new to the movie, you wouldn't even really notice what's going on or would understand what his power is, you know, since it's not brought up a lot that he's the holder of destruction. Like, he mentions it once in Notre Dame and then, like, never again. I think Master Fu might say it after the Notre Dame stuff, but then it's never mentioned again because he doesn't use Cataclysm at any other point in the movie. It just seemed kind of a really quiet, subdued moment, but it's really a big deal because he destroys the Eiffel Tower, which is what injures him. He basically injures himself because of his own ego. I feel like it's a really important moment, but then he just kind of whispers Cataclysm. I feel like it would have been more powerful if he said it basically kind of the way he usually says it in the show, which is usually a shout, unless he's trying to be quiet about it. Most of the time he's kind of running around screaming the word. So I love how Ladybug and Cat Noir's relationship in this moment kind of becomes full circle. So, like, at first at Notre Dame when they first meet, he's like, I'm in charge, I can do this, but obviously gets into trouble and she has to save him, and the same thing happens here. He lets his ego get in the way as well as jealousy. He gets hurt and again she has to save him. Seeing the lava was really cool down the Seine, and it really dialed up the fear factor. It wasn't that scary, but it was a bit like, it was definitely intense. It was really cool to see. And I also really liked how Hawkmoth was during these last few scenes before he kind of reverted back to trying to be a good person, basically. Is he gonna get arrested after all of this? Because Nadia reports it on the news, everyone knows it was him, but I was like, are there any further consequences? I don't know, you don't see him again. So maybe not. Does he go to jail for this? Maybe not, because the Miraculous Ladybug, because she fixed everything. But yeah, anyway, I loved how he was in this scene, and that Marinette was barely able to fight back because she was just so defeated at that point, and he just like throws her or whatever, and then he's like slashing Cat Noir with, I think it was the butterflies, right? That took us like half the mask off and then just like other cuts on his body and stuff. But then I loved how Marinette came in and saved Cat Noir as Marinette. Like, the whole message of the film, like, if you believed in yourself, which is the name of the first song, if I believed in me, is like, belief in yourself is all you need. Whilst yes, the Ladybug mask and being her has allowed you to see that in yourself, as Tiki says, there is no Ladybug without you. She doesn't exist without what you've done. You don't need me. Whilst it helps, you don't need me to be able to save people and to save yourself and to save Cat Noir. So you just do it. Like, the message of this movie was just absolutely solid. So then I love the realization of Gabriel when he realizes it's Adrian, and like everything he's done. Like, yeah, he's destroyed the city and hurt so many people, but above all, he's hurt his son, which I just think is a really redeeming quality. Like, at no point does Gabriel in the show seem to care, but he does in the movie. Because he didn't think Adrian was really being affected by this, he carried on, but the moment he finds out he's Cat Noir, he's like, whoa, okay, I'm done. Whereas in the show, I know at no point Gabriel finds out his son is Cat Noir. In the current timeline, I know in Cat Blank obviously and stuff, but obviously he doesn't remember that anymore. So in the current timeline he has no idea. but at no point does he ever really seem to care the way he's treating Adrian. So I loved that in the movie he suddenly realised and just like immediately stopped. I love it. Honestly, I would have loved this to happen in the season 5 finale instead, for Gabriel to find out his son was Cat Noir and they got to have this talk with each other. As every day passes, I enjoy the season 5 finale less and less. And less. And I also really like the way like the butterflies kind of like help to purify him basically. And I love the dialogue of the talk they had, showing the regret, the grief they both feel. It was great. I loved the hug they had. Although kind of part of me wishes Emily wasn't present for that hug, to kind of show that whilst they were still grieving, they were going to be okay in her absence. So kind of part of me feels they didn't need Emily to show up then, you know, they're going to be okay without her, even though they still love her and they still miss her, which is totally understandable. I just don't think she was needed for the final hug, basically. So then we have the Miraculous Ladybug, and I love how Master Fu tells it to her. And like I said before, I like the fact that they saved it until the end of the movie, when she's pretty much like reached her peak in confidence for the movie. She's not gonna go any further. She's also not gonna backtrack either. She's like finished her development for now anyway. I know there's going to be a sequel. I would hope she develops more in the sequel, but for this movie the development is over. I think her arc was solid all the way through, and as a result I liked the fact that they left the Miraculous Ladybug until the end of the movie, because first of all that was when most of the destruction happened. I know there's other destruction in the other incidents they faced, but it's where the most of it happened, but that also it was kind of like a representation of her finally learning her true power, which first of all was yes connected to the Ladybug Miraculous, but also secondly also about what laid within herself. You know what I mean? I just thought the message, beautifully done. It was great, and I love like the theme of family throughout the movie. I thought it was really strong and really well done. And when she goes home to her parents and they have that lovely hug, amazing. And then it shows the passage of time really gradually. Like, I'm not sure quite yet how quick the film happens. It seems possibly less than 2 months, because like they start the school year in September, that's when they start the school year in France, and then it finishes, I would assume, at some point in December, since it's snowing. So I would assume the same school year. So the film has taken course over the place of like 4 months, but how long it takes between the start and then defeating Hawkmoth kind of seems like mid-October really. But anyway, so the ball, everyone looked amazing. Marinette's dress, beautiful. It looked beautiful. I love Nino's outfit. Alia looks stunning. So did Chloe. Oh my god, I love Chloe's dress. Sabrina as well. They all looked so good. It was great, and again it shows how Marinette has grown in confidence because the way she talks to Chloe. And again, I love Sabrina in the movie. She was just like, Sabrina didn't do loads, but what she did do was great. I guess I kind of like the reversion? How it reverted to like season 1 kind of shenanigans in terms of the classmates, so I really liked that about it. That obviously it shows Marinette's growth even more with the way she just marches outside, calls out to Adrian, calls him Cat Noir though. The Adrianette was great. Yes, the whole cinema was screaming at this point. I still wasn't. I didn't scream at any point. My only verbal reaction was when I saw Miss Bustier. You can see where my priorities lie. I love Miss Bustier, okay? But and she calls out to him, and I love the way the reveal was done. I know not everyone does. I don't care, I loved it. I thought it was great. With the mask, how she takes it off him, she kind of like unmasks him and then shows that she's Ladybug to him, and his kind of initial confusion, but then he starts crying, they do a little dance, and then they're about to kiss and then it cuts off. Yeah, everyone in that cinema was ready to throttle Jeremy Zag, who unfortunately was in the same room as everyone. It was great. And then everyone of course was about to get up and leave, and then the final little bit with Natalie and Emily and the Peacock Miraculous around her neck. I'm not going to speculate too much about it in this video since it's for theory videos, but just overall I love the film. Like I said, 9 out of 10 MVPs, quite definitely Marinette's, but special mention to everybody else because I thought everyone was great in this movie. Especially Chloe. I think they did a great job with Chloe. despite what they did with her in season 5, I still love her dearly. I think they did her dirty, basically, although I'm going to make a separate video about that. That's not for today's video. But yeah, I think the whole film was amazing. So like I said, kind of the low points for me, but they weren't really that low, is that I think more Adrianette could have been done, more songs, literally just 2, and some more Gabriel scenes, again literally just 2 smaller scenes, maybe establish more his relationship with Natalie. As much as I love Natalie and she didn't have that many scenes in the movie, I didn't mind so much her being so absent, since it seemed that Gabriel, you know, was using his brain in the movie and didn't need her help that much. So I don't mind so much that she wasn't in it, since it seems like she's gonna have a pretty prominent role in the next movie, I would assume, as Mayura. Probably. I don't know. So maybe those things I've just named, like I said, as like low points for me are major things to you, and you would give it lower than a 9 out of 10, but for me I wouldn't, because literally everything else in the movie, in my opinion, was pretty much executed to absolute perfection. And because I feel like I can feel the passion that went into this movie, that I don't want to give it any lower than that, you know. I think the rest of it was practically perfect, and with just a few tweaks here and there, it could have been even better. So yeah, that's what I thought of the movie. I absolutely loved the whole heckin' thing. I think it's great. Part of me just wants to watch it all day, every day, but sadly I have too much PhD work. Do you know what they've given me to read? I have to read this and like another thesis and another whole book by Monday. God, I don't know when this video is going up. I'm aiming for Monday, hopefully. I hope it's Monday if my eyeballs haven't died after all the reading I have to do. Like, I like reading. I love reading. Just not that much, you know? But anyway, besties, I'd love to know what you think of this movie. I've been dying to talk about it with you all because I loved it so heckin' much. Please don't worry if you didn't like the movie as much as me. As I always say, besties don't always agree with each other, but besties always respect each other's opinions. It is totally fine if you didn't like it that much, that's fine. But please be respectful about my absolute love for this movie. I think it's a masterpiece, and anyone else in the comments who may also love the movie. So I'd love to know what all of you think about it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!